Hey everyone, this is Ricardo with another episode, Richy Rich Talks. Today I'm privileged to be with a guest that I've met him not that long ago, but I think we've become pretty good friends. And so today I'd like to learn about him and as I've mentioned in the past, I'd like to put inspiring stories out there, and this is just another one. And so I'm very excited to talk to Vinny. And Vinny, welcome to Richy Rich
Yeah,
Talks.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, just maybe introduce yourself and give us a quick snippet of who you are.
Yeah, all right, cool. So, yeah, my name is Vinny. I'm 28. What I do is I work for a college. So, I work in a college admissions office, St. Thomas Aquinas College. And I love what I do. So, I talk to families, I talk to students. Today, we had an event. Um, we had them come to campus. Was celebrating their acceptances, young people trying to commit to the school, which is pretty awesome and an exciting moment for them. But I love what I do because I like helping people, especially through that process. Especially like most majority of our students at the school are first generation students. So
Okay. Yeah. 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 Of
people like
course.
us,
Yeah.
who were kind of just lost through the process, who may not have the support systems at home to really guide them through that process. So I want to be that person for them. So
Yeah.
and I also coach cross country and track, so that's pretty cool. I was a runner, trying to run again. Signed up for
Okay.
Brooklyn Half Marathon in about 2 weeks on April 26th or 7th, one of those days. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But
Wow. I've been actually thinking about doing a half marathon or something like that. So
yeah,
hey, I think I'm gonna need your help with
yeah, yeah, we
that.
can we can hit the roads together, man.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's exciting, it's cool. Again, I just like giving back to the program. I
Yeah.
ran for the college, and just wanted to be a positive impact on these
I love
students'
that.
lives.
I love that. So yeah, so first generation, I think it's very hard. At least for me, it was with not knowing where to go, how to apply, and all the
Yeah,
process. And I love the fact that you're helping, those families. And so yeah, I know I've talked about going to college or starting a business. What I've always said to people, to my own family, is that just because you don't go to college doesn't mean that you need to stop studying. There's different studying, but you still have to educate yourself
yeah,
with private courses or whatever it is you need to keep educating yourself. So that's something that we'll touch on a little bit later. But Vinny, so I'd like to know you a little bit deeper, like in a personal level.
yeah.
Um, why don't you tell us about your childhood? How was your
Yeah, my
upbringing?
childhood. It was good. Uh, I growing up, it was fine. I'm adopted. Um, my family is my family. I never thought of it as like, oh,
So
I'm
you get to
adopted.
pick a cool family then.
Hey, yeah, or they picked me essentially. So I was blessed to be brought into a great family,
Yeah,
and I still live with them, and we're very close, and they've all supported me in everything I've wanted to do. Uh, but growing up, what I find hard is that like growing up, especially in a Spanish household, I mean, I never really had the opportunity to make decisions.
okay.
It was always like made for me, and this was the way, and I never really questioned it. But now being older and growing into my profession, into a role where I'm a assistant director now, and I'm potentially, hopefully, moving up into an associate director role. Now I'm the person making the calls. I'm managing the track team and my athletes, and I'm constantly having to make decisions not only for myself but for other people. So I think that's something that is helping me grow as a person,
Yeah.
and it's been different from when I was a child to now. But I think all the experience I had when I was younger is definitely made me into the person
Okay.
I am today. So I wouldn't change anything that's happened. If I could, if I ever felt like I had any regrets or anything like that, not really. Um, But yeah, I'm just totally grateful.
Yeah, I think everything that we go through in life, it happens for a reason. I always, I'm a believer of uh, things come to your life at the right moment. If you desire something and it's not, and if you don't have it, probably you're not prepared for it yet, or you need to change something in your life, and then it'll come to you.
Yeah,
So you can't really dream for something and not prepare yourself because you have to work for it. And
yeah,
I think, like you said, I growing up, I lived with like nine other adults in a two bedroom
yeah,
apartment, and I literally lived in a living room in a bunk bed,
yeah,
and but all those experiences, and I'm so grateful for my parents because I told this to my wife, but for me, coming from where I come from to an apartment, two bedroom apartment, that was an upgrade for me. You
yeah,
know what I mean? So I
yeah,
never saw it as like downgrading or anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So I was like huge. Oh my god! Now actually I have a bed. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like so it was a huge upgrade, and so I was so grateful. But now, kind of going back and looking at remembering those things, like oh wow, I've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go.
hmm,
And all those moments in my life, I think it helped me to kind of continue, growing as a person and going to school and stuff like that. And I do want to ask you though, for me going to college, it was very hard, right? It was so hard because English was my second language,
yeah.
and I took off a year before going back to college after high school. I'm not kidding. I couldn't read or write.
Wow, that's
Literally,
yeah,
I
that's
couldn't.
incredible.
And I was so lucky that my wife was in that same college and she kind of helped me with a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I think she graduated, did the whole thing, and I was just there to graduate, to be honest. But, um,
yeah,
how do you work with students like that? People that, maybe are in English is not their first language.
yeah.
And
Well, there's a lot of people who need, especially where we live. There's a Hispanic culture. Their population is very high, so it's definitely an area that needs to be taken care of.
yeah,
There's a need for it, and those are great students, so they shouldn't be affected by not having the same opportunities as other students would. Not
right.
having those resources to help maybe have like an aid or help someone like
Hmm.
transition with like translating some of their notes or something like that.
Right, right.
So some schools offer resources like that. Most schools don't, which is the sad part. So that just like yourself, people will be put in a situation where really just determines or comes down to how determined you are to doing it.
Yeah,
So it may come easier for other people, it may be harder. At the same time, you're no different from anyone else. So if you could do it, anyone else could really do it. That's
yeah.
my mentality. I think there's nothing really special about people. You make something special about yourself.
Mm, yeah,
We're all born the
agree.
same. We all go, one day the same. So, so
Probably to the same place.
yeah, hopefully. But it really it comes down to the decisions you make and how
Yeah.
committed you are to achieving certain goals.
I remember my parents obviously uh, don't know. My mom speaks a little bit of English, but my dad just he
Yeah,
doesn't at all. And I remember when I was applying to go to college, and my parents were like, "Yeah, si puedes, tú puedes." And I'm like, but that doesn't do anything to me. Like, I need actual help. Like, can
yeah,
you like help me?
guidance.
Your guidance. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, it's just a verbal support. It's nice, but I'm like,
mm,
no, I need like actual help. And I
yeah,
saw a lot of parents that they would take their kids to the first day or help them like sign up or pay
yeah,
for college and stuff like that.
yeah,
So I was always like, oh man, I wish my parents could do that, but now I kind of go back and see that we don't even if our parents they want to help us out, sometimes they're just not
just very limited.
limit exactly, so they're
Yeah,
very limited. So but it's yeah, I think it's very nice to have someone like you that's looking after people that help that
yeah,
need help.
yeah,
And honestly, I've never looked at it that way before. I just went and I did what I had to do,
Yeah,
and I never really seek for help from anyone else. Maybe if I would have met you back then,
yeah,
I
yeah,
might maybe I would have chose a different path or maybe a
yeah.
different degree or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because without that knowledge, it's hard to say what I need. I was literally just placed in a class, and I
Yeah, that's
just
it.
that was
That's
it.
it. You
You know
just
what I mean?
accepted it.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But it's funny enough how you mentioned that, like when you talk to your parents and told them about like your dream about going to school and applying. I was literally talking to a family today about it because my parents didn't even graduate high school.
mm,
So graduating high school was like a big deal, and I didn't even really have plans after high school till my senior year. And my coach in high school was the one that really guided me through that. And one day I was just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go to school. And my parents was like, that's awesome. And that was it. That was the conversation. That was it. But they, I know that they tried to support me as much as they could.
yeah,
They just don't know how to.
exactly.
You know. But where I'm at, where I went to school, St. Thomas Aquinas College, the people there help a lot. So
Mm,
you always, what I always tell people too is like, I'm not a salesman. I'm not trying to sell you on the school. There's a million and one schools,
yeah.
and there's not really a perfect fit for anyone. There's gonna be pros and cons to everything, but where you need to be is where you'll feel most comfortable and where people will help you
Mm,
because you can't do it alone. There's no
yeah.
such thing as a one man army. You need to have a lot of resources and people to guide you through certain experiences in the process. So
Yeah.
being in a place where you're comfortable to ask for help and connect with people, that's where
Yeah. So I'm going to push you a little bit
you'll be
because I've been thinking about it, and I've also noticed a lot of our own family members, they are not going to college anymore,
yeah,
and they're choosing a trade,
straight,
right? And that's, I think, I'm pretty sure but that's more common now,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
There's actually like a decrease in enrollment.
So
Yeah,
exactly. So
for the book.
and the whole thing is, with the college degree, obviously, you get your degree, you get a job, and you get an entry level job, and then you have to grow within whatever field that you choose, right? And but with trade, you could just literally just graduate high school, go into taking a trades class or something like that, and you can kind of start making good income right away. So,
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
Yeah, so I think I think the reason why people are leaning towards it, one, I think there's a need. One, we do need more people because they're at before there was a big boom of like everyone needs to go to school,
Hmm.
and there's not as many
I think most of
workers.
us we've been told that you need to go to school, you
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
get a college degree so
yeah,
that you can be something in
yeah,
life.
yeah. And just to touch, I know we're gonna probably touch a little bit more on it before, but you know, I don't think a traditional route of education is necessarily the right path for everyone, like
Hmm.
going to school. I do believe that everyone needs to get some form of education,
Right.
and you need to be a lifelong learner. But we'll touch base about that a little
Yeah.
later. Um, I think where we are now is that we need more people who are doing the blue collar jobs, who are doing
Hmm.
construction, who are doing carpentry, electrician, HVAC, all that stuff. So there definitely is a need. I do think that people are going into the field for the wrong reasons.
Hmm.
Because everything is instant gratification now. They
Right.
want it quick. They want it like this. They think about going to
Oh, that's a
college
good
and
point.
they're like, all right, I have to do school for 2, 4, 5, 6, maybe even more years than that. Like, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. Um, so it really just depends what their goals are. Like if they really want to do that, because a lot of times I think they just think about the money, but they don't think about the actual work that goes into it.
Hmm.
Like most of those jobs are hard labor work. You're on
Oh
your
yeah.
feet 8, 10, 12 hours a day working. You're working for your money,
Yeah.
you know, and it comes to a point where it's not sustainable.
Right.
You can't really do all those jobs for 20 plus years.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and God forbid, like let's say you're in construction, you could get the chance of getting hurt is high. So I mean, there's pros and cons to everything. We
Right.
do need trade workers out there. Um, but I also think that people do need to educate themselves
Hmm.
more than just thinking like I'm gonna go into this trade school for 8, 10 month program. I'm out. I get my certification. I'm gonna start working and making good money.
Yeah.
There's more that goes into it.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
mean, I
think?
was just telling one of the sales guys here that I was telling him that just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you have to stop studying.
Yeah,
And if you do, it's fine,
yeah,
but you're not gonna go anywhere because if
yeah,
you don't keep educating yourself, you continue with the different maybe trade school or whatever. You're just gonna be someone that graduated high school and then now you're just working like you know maybe a
yeah. The
grocery
rat race.
exactly right
Yeah,
and I mean I understand the instant gratification. I think I didn't think of it that way before, but I think you're spot on to be
yeah,
honest. Uh, like most kids now, they kind of just want the money right now,
yeah.
and I need it now. But they don't. I don't think they think of the long term.
Yeah, yeah, no. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, when I go to a school, a lot of people are like, "I want to go into nursing. I want to go into nursing." And I was like, "So, what kind of research have you done into nursing? Do you know what you need to do? Like, do you even like math and science?" And they're like, "I need to know math." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of math. You need to take a lot of math courses." And I was like, "Are you prepared to actually take care of people? Like."
Hmm.
One, your people are going to a hospital, they're not happy, like no
Yeah.
one wants to be in a hospital. And you're gonna have to wipe people's butts.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the life of it. There's gonna be a lot of hard labor and a lot of times where people are gonna be nasty to you. And I
Hmm.
think people are like, well, I want to be a nurse because I'm only gonna work like 3, 4 days in a row. I get a few
Oh
days
yeah, yeah. I've
off,
heard
good
about that. Yeah.
money. So they're thinking about it for the wrong reasons. Because I'm like, if you want to make money, just go into business.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could be at home working from a computer making a lot of money.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in the field of taking care of people.
Hmm.
You should be in the field of taking care of people because you want to take care of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think to those that are watching, choose your path. Think of it in the long term. Not right now. Right now, yeah, it might feel nice to not go to school and not read books anymore and not have to get up early and do your homework and stuff like that. But what do you want in your future? Do you want like a comfortable life, or you want to struggle from paycheck to paycheck? So you need to really assess yourself and think of in long term. Because once you have your own family, I mean, if that's your plan, once you have your own family, it gets a lot tougher, right? Now you're feeding other
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
You know what I
Never gets
mean? You
easier.
take exactly. You need to take care of more people. So um, and like I said, in this podcast we talk about money. So money is important in your life. It's not everything in your life, but it's important. So I think so that's actually a good segue for the other thing that you mentioned, which is track.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that?
Yeah. So I started running in high school
Okay.
because I was overweight and I needed to lose some weight. And a lot of my friends ran track
Yeah.
because they played football. They did track to stay in shape, so I started doing track. I started off as a sprinter during my like ninth grade year. I was horrible, trash. I'd get last every race, and I went through my first indoor and outdoor season as a sprinter. Then the following year, all my friends were getting ready for football. I was getting ready to try out for our football team, which was at North Rockland High School, very big high school,
Okay.
prideful in football, one of their best sports. And I'm sitting in my room right before tryouts, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know any plays. I don't know all the rules and regulations. I'm gonna look like an idiot out there.
Yeah.
So I didn't go, and plus I was super tiny, so I didn't go to tryouts. I didn't do anything that fall, and then I did indoor track again my sophomore year, and I was still doing sprinting, still horrible. And I made a bet with a friend that if I got last, well, he was saying if I got last in this 300 we were running, um, I would have to go to distance running, and no one wants to do that.
Mm, okay.
No one wants to think about running for more than a lap. So I got smoked in the race, needless to say. And then the next day, I switched over to distance running, and I beat half of the team in mile repeat workouts. So then I was like, okay, so maybe this is more my speed. This is where
Oh,
I need
okay.
to be. So I pretty much ran with it. No pun intended there, but I
Yeah.
ran with it from there, and then I was pretty good in high school.
Okay.
I used that as an opportunity to segue into college. Get some athletic award money through that,
Oh, I was just
and
gonna say that. Yeah.
I was blessed to have the opportunity to run in college also.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
so you're a college athlete.
yeah,
Nice,
yeah,
nice. I tried for a soccer team and I didn't
yeah,
make it.
yeah. It's intense. A lot of it's intense. It's like a job.
Yeah.
So it's a huge commitment. A lot of
Yeah, I
people
was
think
just gonna say, how do you get committed to it? How do you hold yourself accountable to, obviously that has to take a lot of practice, right?
Yeah.
So how do you
Well,
keep
especially when it
yourself
comes to distance
accountable?
running, it's literally just about repetition.
Hmm.
I say it every day to my athletes. It's all about time on your feet. There's no magic sauce there's, and the thing about running too is that there's no cookie cutter plan. You
Okay.
know, you can't do this workout to expect to get this result. There are a million and one ways
Hmm.
to get to one result. You know, whether some people thrive off of running less miles, some people thrive off of running higher mileage.
Okay.
So that's what I think is really good about the sport. What's really cool. There's so many different outcomes or routes to get to the same outcome that you could take. But in the same coin, like I said, there's no magic behind it. It's literally about repetition and being committed.
Yeah.
So um, and I think that's why I really love about running. One, it's like it's all about yourself.
Okay. Yep.
There's a
There's no
team
one else can
aspect.
run for you.
No one else can run for you. You're not sitting on a bench. You can't hide behind anyone.
Yeah.
It's literally about yourself and beating yourself essentially. That man in the mirror. You're out there trying to be better every time. You're racing against yourself. Of course, you're racing against other people to put you in a better position. But at the end of the day, it's all about improving yourself.
Hmm.
And you do have there is a team aspect to it. In cross country, there's more of a team aspect because in track, the way it works is that 1 through 6 score points. So if
Okay.
you're not that top six, you're not really going to have an effect on the team's overall outcome.
Okay.
So that may play in your aspect of being the team sport. But when it comes to cross country, every person matters. A team is
Okay.
a top seven, and the way it works is kind of like golf. So you want, instead of track scoring the most points, you want to score the least amount of points. So
Okay.
first place is 1 point, second place is two, and then depending where you fall from there. So what's really cool is that, like, typically you do top five, and that's your score.
Yep.
Your top five runners. But let's say like you're the sixth or seventh man, and you may not feel as important. Your job is just as important as everyone else because let's say you come to a tie with a team in
Yeah.
points for first, second, or third place or something. Whether I think you have to take a look at what a win is for. So
Hmm.
like if you're in that race to get second, you're going to get second place, or like you want to win, you're going to win. But let's say you're at a tie with a team, that's when that sixth or seventh person comes into play because then they'll use those points to offset that tie.
Okay.
So it's all about being in front of the person behind, in front of you. So that could be the person that your team is tied with, and you won't know until you cross the line.
Hmm.
There's no way to see like live results. You're out there running, so it's a cool sport. A lot of people are like, I can never do it because of thinking about running, but also I think what changed me and my trajectory in my life is when I started running, especially distance, because like I said, it's all about yourself, and what comes down to being great at the sport is just being consistent and having that discipline of going out there every day
Yeah. Yeah.
and running and just a lot of it is by yourself. When you're out there, you're by yourself with your thoughts. A lot of people like to run with music, but for any runners out there, I challenge you to just go out there, run with no music on, and just be out there with your own thoughts. Like, I swear, once you're done with that run, you'll feel 1,000 times better. Like if you're really stressed that day, if you had a lot on your mind, it really helps clear your thoughts. you know, I think there's something
So
special
you
about it.
so do you run without music or?
I do. I do. Yeah.
That's yeah. I think even like working out, it's savage when you go without music, without headphones.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
pretty
like you
dreadful.
think way too much, and sometimes it's just
Well,
that paralyzes you.
so yeah, but also like let's say you're at a gym, right? And you don't have music. You're still overstimulated. There's a ton of people there.
Well, that's
The
true.
the gym is playing music. You hear people slamming weight. You see other people communicating with each other. So it's just a total different environment.
Yeah, I agree. So that last mile, I mean, I've ran in the past.
Yeah,
I think the farthest,
running is
yeah,
all about.
I
I mean,
think
soccer's all about running.
the most I've done is 5 miles. The fifth one, the last mile, I was just dragging myself.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that that's how you guys feel too. Like that last mile, you guys know that last mile is.
Yeah, that's
That,
where you really have to lie, especially at the college level for
yeah.
cross country. The men run a 5 mile race. We even go up to a 6 mile race. So it's all about mental toughness.
Hmm.
You're always gonna hit a wall, and your body is gonna start telling you can't do it. It's gonna
Yeah.
feel it start shutting down. But that's when you have to be strong mentally to really lock in, and you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah,
How does someone develop that mental toughness or
yeah,
that mentality of okay, I need to push it to the next level
yeah.
because that's what you need to do.
It's all internal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all internal. Like, and I think that's where it's hard for me as a coach, because I could be there giving them the formula. I could support them. I could tell them, I see, look, this is where you could be,
Hmm.
and this is where your workouts are showing you could be here, but on race day you're falling a little short. But it's not a falter on their physical capabilities. It's all up here.
Hmm.
You know,
Okay.
you have to believe you could do it before you can actually do it. And I mean that goes across the board, whatever you're doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you
That's
can't
what. Yeah. That's what I
you
wanted to
can't
bring
have
that
any
up.
self doubt in yourself,
Yeah.
and that's when you'll put yourself in a position to be great. Regardless of what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I wanted to get to. I think some. Do you believe that people are born with that type of mentality, or you think it's something that you can develop?
I think it's a trait that people are born with,
Okay.
but I think people can develop it also. I think it may come harder for certain people. They may have to work at developing those traits, or skills, I should say.
Hmm.
Trait is something like you're born with, right? So I think it's also a skill at the end of the day. You know, I think it really just depends on how bad you want something.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
I think because this is, obviously a business money podcast. I think that's exactly what happens with the most people that I've had a chance to meet. 19, 20, 20, 25, 30 year olds. They have a massive business, and trust me, most of them I went to school with back in Ecuador, and we lived in like complete poverty, literally. And some of the one of the guys actually that I know that has a massive company right now. Uh, he lost his mom at early age at 5 or 6, I believe. And over there, you just don't have the luxuries to just order out, order Chinese food or whatever. I mean, they
mm-hmm.
would go like days without eating.
Yeah,
But I think that's what develops your mind or gives you that drive. No, I need to do better. So when we get here in this country, which is the country of opportunity, um, when we educate ourselves, when we do, continue educating ourselves, and we find a business that we can
yeah,
grow into, it just there's no limit to it.
yeah,
And some people are born with that because they had that struggle when they're younger.
yeah.
You know.
I think it does come easier with people who have struggled at an earlier life. I think there's I might be butchering the saying, but there's like they say hard time build strong people, and strong people build good times, right? So then when you're in a good time, there's not much to work for. So then it's just an endless cycle,
Yeah.
right? But then to touch what you also talked about, like you asked me about how did you manage being an athlete, And you did mention something about like growing up and knowing people from another country and having to make sacrifices. That's what it comes down to. There are going to be times where you have to make a decision like you, especially in a college campus, like everyone glorifies like partying, drinking, and all
Mm,
that. You're an athlete, so it's a commitment to yourself, but also to your teammates and to the school. Like you have to make those sacrifices where you can't go out, right? You have
right.
to stay.
Yeah.
You have to stay in. You have to prep. You got to get
Accountability.
ready. Yeah, it's accountability. Um, but it comes down to, are you willing to make those sacrifices to be great at what you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Discipline, accountability,
Yeah,
all those things that we need to take for, no
yeah,
one is going to tell. One
yeah,
of the things that I've been telling people close to me is like, I tell you this because I love you. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
my brother, he's a little bit chubby, right? Like a little bit overweight.
yeah,
And I told him, like, listen, I tell you this because I love you. If I didn't care about you, I don't care. Like I'm not gonna go to a random person and say, hey, you're overweight, you need to lose weight. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You might take it as an offense. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think we all know that to be overweight is it's not good. It's not good for your
yeah,
body and all that stuff. And so I'm also kind of trying to better people around me. I think we when we all grow, you grow as well,
yeah,
because you have people that are pushing you and you pushing them, and we all grow. And that's the whole community that I'm trying to build, right?
yeah,
Like starting from my own family. And I told him, he's very young, so I told him, like, listen, if you don't have a six packs right now, you're never gonna have it. So now he's like very into it, and
yeah.
because
It only gets harder.
exactly.
Yeah,
And so like what I want is like people around me to have a killer mentality. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And whatever they do, whether it's education, business, working out, whatever it is, like you have to go 100%. Otherwise, you just wasting your time.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And so, but like, yeah, you being an athlete, I think uh, gives you that type of mentality. You want to win. You want to be the number one.
yeah,
You don't want to be a number two,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
And in order to do that, there's got to be a lot of discipline and holding
yeah,
yourself accountable, training every day, nutrition, and with the proper coaches, and put a lot of time in it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Well, we've been for quite some time now. Is there anything that you want to send like a message to younger kids that are going from high school to transition into college? What do you think they should be looking out for?
yeah. I think one thing that we could really just double down on is talking about what we were just touching base on is being disciplined, because I think a lot of people want to focus on being motivated and having motivation, but motivation is fleeting.
Yeah,
You can have motivation one day, and then you have a hard day at work, you have a hard day at practice, or you're trying to start a business, things were going well, now you hit that first road bump, that motivation's gone, it's out the door.
yeah,
But that's when you have to double down and keep moving forward, because you know after you hit that road bump, it could be smooth sailing from there. You never
mm,
know. But
yeah,
if you lose that motivation and you don't have that discipline to keep on moving forward, regardless of whether if you're going to school, you're trying to start your business, whether if it's you're trying to start a relationship with someone, it's very applicable to anything.
yeah, yeah,
Just having the discipline to continue on when things get hard.
mm,
Um, I think that's the one thing that people really need to start focusing on, and building that trait. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So with that, is there anything you want to plug in? And where can they find you so that they can ask you about, going to school and right path for them, and college that you work for?
Yeah, yeah. So I work for it's called St. Thomas Aquinas College. It's in Spark Hill, New York. And people can reach out to me at my email. It's VVAZQUEZ@stac.edu. So that's V Vasquez at stack.edu. And I'm willing to help anyone, regardless if you're interested in Stack or you just want to talk to me and pick my brain a little bit. I like connecting with people. I think that's something that's very precious and something that you it's easier to get at a college, you know,
Mm-hmm.
connecting with people and getting a mentor.
Yep.
You know, that also goes back to what we were talking about earlier about not having a traditional education, which is fine, but always wanting to pursue and learn, you know, and I think key of that is finding someone that can be a mentor for you,
Yeah.
whether if it's, you know, a friend, a family member, someone within the field that you want to study or create your business in, because you can't do it alone. You
Yep.
know, doing it alone, you're gonna get lost and you're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna lose that motivation. You need to have a support system. You need to have a mentor, and that's how you get far in life and achieve all your goals.
Yeah. All right. So make sure to reach out to Vinny if you guys are thinking of going to college, and if you guys have any questions about track.
Track running, yeah,
Yeah.
anything, life,
Yeah. Any
yeah.
last words?
No, 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 that's pretty much
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So thank you so much for staying to the last minute. And if you guys got any value out of this, make sure to follow me and give it a like and share with whoever might benefit from this. And we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.